Welcome to Factspark. In this video, we'll take a look at how transmigration impacted the Indonesian society for the past 100 years. Transmigration describes a policy in which large parts of the Indonesian population have been relocated from the population centers of Java and Bali to less populated regions in order to reduce poverty and at the same time solve labor shortages in the farming and mining activities in the rural areas of the country. While on paper the idea could bring prosperity and a stable life to people that have been transmigrated, the past 100 years of enforcing transmigration policies have been a cause for breaches of human rights, a disruption to the way of life of hundreds of thousands of Indonesians, and accelerated deterioration of the precious rainforests of Indonesia's outer islands. While only being the 5th largest island in the Republic of Indonesia, Java houses over 140 million people, in an area even smaller than, for example, Nepal. This high population density has been an important part of the country's political agenda for many decades, and several different incentives have been given in an attempt to solve the misery coming from this overpopulation around Jakarta and other population hubs. Towards the end of the Dutch reign over the Indonesian islands, transmigration policies have been enforced for the very first time. As many as 300,000 people in a single year have been moved in the period between the First and Second World War, and the results have been devastating. Instead of giving the migrants new hope and a prosperous life as farmers, the policy included terms which punished desertion of the program with hard labor. This ruling basically turned the workers into slaves. A very high mortality rate during the work and constant abuse from superiors resulted in the program completely failing in its purpose to relieve the poverty-driven underclass from the urban areas. The program came to a halt during the independence movement of Indonesia, but was quickly picked up again by the Indonesian president Sukarno in 1949 after the Second World War. The fact that these policies were in good nature, meaning they were meant to give a new life to impoverished Indonesians from the urban areas, the program attracted several financial supporters in the early 80s, namely the World Bank and the Asian Development Bank. These funds allowed for a massive increase in migrants in the coming years, and millions relocated to Sumatra, Borneo, and Papua. After a few years of very active resettling, however, the true nature of the transmigration program came to light, and funding quickly dried up as the 90s were approaching. In hindsight, the program's devastating effects were much more clear to the foreign investors, and 5 key issues can be identified which brought more harm than good to the millions of migrated people, which ended up being a mere tool to strengthen political and financial goals of the Javanese government. First of all, the resettlement helped to increase the assimilation of indigenous populations, meaning it spread religious and cultural values from Jakarta to remote villages, in order to increase the sense of nationalism in these regions. The transmigration program has drastically increased the destruction of Indonesian rainforests, since new space for migrants was made in the form of burning down existing forests. Next to the environmental impact, the program also ruined Indonesia financially. Around 40% of the entire development funds given to the state have been consumed by relocation efforts, leaving many other projects with a lack of funding. To make this issue even worse, for every impoverished person leaving the dense urban areas of Jakarta, more people flooded these population hubs, which is why not even a dent in the population of Jakarta can be found, and all the issues there remain the same. And finally, a lack of planning and preparation of the designated farmers that took part in the transmigration program left these people with poor access to markets and insufficient knowledge and tools to actually live a comfortable working life as a farmer. After all, the program simply redistributed poverty over the islands and turned impoverished and unsupported city folks into impoverished and unsupported farmers. Luckily, the Indonesian government and foreign aid givers came to realize these issues and started shifting their focus to a more sustainable form of aid. Instead of pushing more and more people onto the rural islands of the nation, foreign aid now focuses on rehabilitating failed resettlements and giving many of these families a second chance.